Hey, Bruce Naylor here, your boomer consumer. And this video, I want to talk about some of the comments that were uh, made for my video called Vinyl Records Worse Than I Remember. And I'm not going to read them all or completely, just the sentiments of those comments and share them with you. But before I get started, I want to clear up a couple things at the very beginning. If you watched that video, the purpose of the video was kind of a trip down memory lane where I had last owned a record player and records back in the early to mid 80s. And then once CDs took off, really I couldn't wait to get rid of all that and go with CD. And all these years later, going on 40 years later, do records and record players, do they match my memories of them? Because I've been pretty much an all digital guy ever since I know the mid 80s at least, maybe the later 80s. So that was the purpose of the video. Some people, I think, mistook it as me saying that these are the records, my record player, and this is how they compare to CDs, and that was not the purpose of the video. So I wanted to make that point real clear. Now, let's talk about some of the comments that I got. And I'm just going to, some of the top, again, sentiments is the term that I want to use. And the first one is that I was trying to compare the sound of CDs with my crappy record player with the crappy stylus that I paid 15 bucks for. Fair enough. Look, I wasn't, again, the purpose was not to compare the sound. So just a little history, if you haven't seen the first video, a neighbor sold me a turntable that was made in the 80s from Sony. I think the PS LX22, which is a direct drive, semi-automatic turntable. And it had a bent stylus, and I mentioned the fact that I replaced that stylus for 15 bucks. I also, later in the video, mentioned wasn't satisfied with that at all, and I bought an Ortofon, it's the Super 10 cartridge, and it was around $80, which, by the way, is a decent starter cartridge for a lot of people. And so I really wasn't basing anything on the factory cartridge or that $15 stylus, nor was I trying to make a direct comparison in sound. Okay, so I wanted to get that out of the way. That's the first record player that I've owned since the 1980s. But if it makes everybody happy, I did decide to say, you know what, let's get a different turntable. I did a lot of research and ultimately ended up with a Fluence RT-85. That's the one with the acrylic platter and the Ortofon 2M blue cartridge. And I love it. It's a great turntable. It is not direct drive. It is not automatic. It is barely semi-automatic, but it is an excellent turntable for 500 bucks. But I'm going to review that in another video. All right, so wanted to get that out of the way. Again, the purpose wasn't to compare vinyl with CD or an analog source to a digital source. That really wasn't the purpose. It was there still pops, clicks, whooshing, the maintenance, all that was, yes, some of that is still there. Now, another sentiment was that automatic and semi-automatic turntables are just junk. They add noise to you. You just can't use those. Wow. I actually talked at length to the owner of an AV company, audio video company. They do home theater, they do high-end audio systems, etc. He said, you know what? I don't understand what people's objection to automatic turntables are. They don't add any noise to the signal path. There's absolutely no problem with them, but yet there people's got in their mind that an automatic turntable is a bad thing. He got his lead tech to had come by, and we talked about it. Again, he assured me, Mr. Naylor, there is no logical reason why an automatic turntable would add any kind of noise to your listening experience with a turntable. But I could only find automatic turntables in a lower price range that I didn't feel was of decent quality. Another sentiment was you got to use tubes, all tubes. If you got to have an analog source, you got to have tube gear to understand how much better vinyl can be. Really? I don't know that many people that's even got a system, let alone that's going to go out and get tube gear. All right. I think that's going to be the very rare bird indeed that is interested in tubes. Most people's got a system is going to go solid state. It's just the way it is. I don't think that's really a practical solution for people. If you have to spend, and tube gear can get quite spendy. If you've got to spend a whole lot of money on your gear to get the supposed great sound quality of vinyl, this hobby ain't gonna make it, man. It's gonna be dead in the water. You know, most people. If you look, how many of these Crosley Cruisers do you think get sold a month? How many of these low-end Audio Technica automatic turntables are being sold at Walmart and mail order? Millions of them. All right, these are what, $150 record players, and you're saying that these people shouldn't even participate because they're not spending the thousands and thousands of dollars on gear. In my mind, that's just not the right approach. Another sentiment is, the way the music is mastered. Now, that one I agree with. So I just got a copy of Dire Straits' Brother in Arms. It was an older pressing and played it on the Fluence RT85, and it blew me away. There was just a warmth and a presence to it that when I listened to it on streaming wasn't there. All right, I heard it. Okay, I heard something that was fantastic that I hadn't heard before on streaming. So yes, there is something to vinyl and a nice setup that it will deliver an experience that you may not get through a CD or a streaming service. So yeah, but yeah, I do agree that that you should, that finding an album that was mastered via analog, mixed for analog, would probably sound better than one that was digital master to vinyl. And I've got some of the new Beatle albums, and they're all digital masters to vinyl. I don't have the analog master versions, but I can tell you I'm not super impressed with that. But man, the Dire Straits, let's see, Jethro Tull War Child, one of the older copy, fantastic. It sounds great. It's a user album that I picked up on eBay. And even after cleaning it, there's still a few ticks and pops, but I can live with that. Speaking of pops, clicks, whooshes, that kind of thing, they're still there. Even on a brand new album that I cleaned before I played it on an RT85 with the 2M Blue cartridge. They're not very loud. They're not very pronounced. They don't happen very often. And yes, I cleaned the album first. I don't have a sophisticated, oh God, I don't have a high-end cleaning machine, okay? I've got the brush and the liquid and etc. And I'm not saying it's problematic. No, I mean, for the most part, the record's very, very quiet. But occasionally you will hear it. You'll just hear a little tick. And I don't know, it may be a flaw in the album itself, in the pressing. Whooshes can be caused by it being cut slightly off center. It has nothing to do with the turntable or the cartridge or anything else. It can be a flaw in the album itself. Okay, that does not mean you shouldn't collect vinyl. But yes, some of that surface noise is still there in some pressings, but not all. And yes, cleaning and handling and caring for your records is extremely important. And when I was younger, it was about the tunes and listening to the music. Today, it's more about the experience, and owning a record player and collecting vinyl is more of an experience to be enjoyed and appreciated. That is all I wanted to say in this video. Hopefully, I cleared up some people's ideas about what I was talking about. So I look forward to your comments down below. Bruce Naylor, the Boomer Consumer. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.